So, good morning. Wow, crazy times we're in, and we're doing these weekly as people want to jump in. We have a couple of them every week, so thank you to all the women who happen to be on this call. I want to start this with just saying, what is the most positive, favorable, happy, joyous thing happening in your life right now? If you would jump in and share yours, that would be terrific, and keep your videos on. And those who we can't see so far, if you would do that and then unmute, we would love that. So anybody who's ready to start, please do that.
I can start.
Daughter,
go ahead, Lauren.
I was going to say, so my daughter, who is in 4th grade, her teacher has been amazing and has been doing 2 Zoom calls a day. Morning, always at 10 and 4:30, and it has been a lifesaver, one, to create some normalcy for my daughter, plus also help with us parents who are working, and also making sure that the learning is complete.
Ooh, hang on one second. Boy, that cued some music. So, L. Robertson, you've got to get your mute on because we've got your jamming tunes happening.
Nice. All right, I'll get, there I am.
It's so good to see you. How are you?
You too. It's just nice to see people, really.
Yeah, we're sharing the most joyful, happy, wonderful thing, and yours came in with music. So Lori was just sharing. I'm going to let Lori finish, and then Lynn, you can jump in on.
I think my Spotify started for some reason. Sorry about that. Hold on.
That's all right.
I just wanted to give you guys a little upbeat music. It's a lovely day.
Well, thank you. We're going to let Lori finish what she was saying, and then Lynn, you can.
So sorry for that bold interruption.
That's all right. We expect things like this from you. It's all good.
I'm disruptive.
All right, Lori. So you've got normalcy with homeschooling because the teacher's checking in at 10 and 4. So please jump back in.
Yep, so that was it. I just thought it's kind of, we just got off our 10 o'clock call, and it's always just kind of nice, and it's great for the kids as well, because she always allows times for the classroom to interact at the very end. So it's a blessing to have that, and I applaud the teacher for going above and beyond and doing that for us. So
I agree. That's a wonderful one. Sally, are you wanting to share next?
Yeah. Can you see me?
We cannot.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's
We've got
going
a
on.
bit of an echo because you've got 2 devices on. Let me mute one. Okay, now I'm hearing some shuffling. Go for it.
Okay. So, still hearing an echo here.
You've got 2 devices. If you can mute one of them.
Let me see if I.
You muted the one we could hear, so you might want to mute the other and turn that one back on. This is the fun of technology. If you can't embrace this, man, we are going to have a hard time. Sally, while you figure that out, Jessica, you're up. Why don't you share yours?
Yeah, so last night I just happened to do a text in with both my mom and my brother. And my mom, I told you last night, Sue, she had gone out to coffee with her friends, and since Caribou was closed to prevent social gatherings, she went to her friend's house. So I did the reversal feather fluff thing with her and was like, if they don't want you to gather at Caribou, can you just stay home, please? Like, she's a 70-year-old woman who collects germs like they're going out of style. And I was like, and then I texted my brother and I was like, how are you doing? And this is what mom's up to. And he was like, she's dumb. But then he's just a funny guy. And we just had a hysterical, I was literally laughing out loud with his text, and it was a nice reprieve at the end of the day. So that's what's brought joy into my life in the last 24 hours.
I love it. And you've got to hate Ann Pappenfuss. You've got to tell her it's not just for her that she's being cavalier, that it's for all the healthcare workers and all the people who are struggling. So,
yeah,
I'm glad you got to parent your parent, but I'm going to come over and put a seatbelt on her. I'm telling you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Sue.
You're welcome. All right. Who's ready? Did you get it, Sally, or Lynn, or are you in? You came in with music. I want some more of that.
What was the question? Sorry, I missed the question.
Question's just most happy, positive, joyful thing going on right now, because you know what? We need to start there.
It's interesting because we're all from the agency that we're working remotely. So we have when we're physically together, we have a daily huddle. We call it the Clatch for 15 minutes just to establish priorities for the day. So we did our first Zoom Clatch this morning, and it was like this, I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch, it's like you could see everyone in their natural habitat, and there were a lot of fun and games. And so we were trying to think of a way that we could kind of keep our morale, our collective morale up, and support some of our friends in the restaurant business and small businesses here locally. So Fame is giving them a $100 gift card this weekend to just spend locally and hopefully keep people in business.
Bless your heart. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome. That's what a local fabulous agency will do. Fame is the game. All right. Who else? Who's got one? Christy?
This is Sally.
Ann? Sally, go. You got it.
Hi,
Boom.
Columbus, Ohio. Want to let you know, last night, so I have a group of 5 women that I travel with all the time and get together for happy hour. So last night we decided to do a virtual happy hour.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a lot of catching up, and it was really, really nice. We talked for about an hour and a half and just caught up on our families and just talked about how we're going to get through this. And it was really actually very uplifting. I felt very optimistic about what the future holds here. So
I
that's
love it.
mine.
I have lots of people doing virtual happy hours, virtual lunch hours. We're going to do a virtual game night with our family on Saturday. More reported on that next week. Being really good at social distancing also is being really connected to humans. That's what this is all about. And I think it's pushing us to where we all have been saying we want to go, but we busy ourselves away from. So thank you for that. All right, who haven't we heard from? Christy, Ann, which of you is going to go?
I can go next. This is Ann.
Awesome.
Last night we did a virtual celebration of my nephew's 19th birthday. So he's pretty bummed that he can't be celebrating with his friends and doesn't know yet what's going to happen with school. He's going to North Dakota for flight, and so there's a lot, in aeronautics, they can't do a lot of it virtually because he needs to actually be in an airplane. So it's his world is a little more apprehensive at this point. And he's kind of a shy kid, but man, I saw a couple smiles last night, especially when my sister brought out the birthday cake all lit up, and we sang to him. And none of us are singers to begin with. And when you add in the extra delay that comes natural with we did this over GoToMeeting, but you're still going to have that slight delay. And it was absolutely horrible sounding. I mean, just horrific, except it still made him smile. And so that really, was a brightener to me as well. And nice to catch up with our whole family.
I hope you recorded it.
Oh my God.
That might have been a good viral video right there. And the construction looks good. If you guys can't see, Ann's got a new house. So they're busy at work. So glad you're here. Christy, good stuff happening with you.
Good stuff. Well, first of all, the sun is shining in Seattle, and I think I saw Anne Marie's face pop up. She's here too. So shout out to Anne Marie. I'm using my tablet, and it doesn't have all the features that my computer seems to have with Zoom. So a joy for me is it is part of this technology, and then also that feeling of being with all these people who are fabulous problem solvers that are just putting their energy into how to make things better for ourselves and for each other. And it's really a joy to me. I can actually feel, I'm a little bit empathic, and I can feel how things have slowed down around me and how available people are. I work from home. I'm used to this. This is not hard for me at all. However, getting to know these technologies that allow this kind of thing, I feel a lot of hopefulness about the things that we can learn from this experience also.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Anne-Marie, what's the best, most joyful, exciting, wonderful, positive thing going on in your world?
Hey, friends.
Hey, friends. Look
Best
how cute you are.
Peloton, man. I bought stock in them like a couple weeks ago after this thing happened.
Mark?
Best most joyful thing is that amazingly, my ex-husband just bought a home in my neighborhood that closed 3 days ago. 3. So we just moved my mom in the full quarantine here, which is wonderful because my father is a practicing physician. He still sees patients.
Yep.
And he feels pretty confident since he's in Thurston County, which is epicenter of the outbreak, that he will get it. So confident that he is buying his own ventilator to bring to the hospital. So as soon as we can confirm my mom is symptom-free for 7 to 10 days, my stress levels and happiness levels will be, happiness doubled, stress levels halved, because then I just have to worry about my dad. So that is the best good thing that's happening in my life, is that my mom will be safe.
Awesome. Well, and kudos to you for working out well on a video conference call. We're all a little jealous. I have my treadmill desk here and I tried doing it on one of these and I went, it's too much noise, even though it's quiet. And you're bouncing up and down, but you can do that because you're not the host. So it's so
exactly.
Yes. That
and
is
you
awesome.
To look better than me.
I really do not, but thank you. We're all working on it. So thank you. Did we get through everyone? Linda, are you out there? I don't know if you, looks like she may have gone away. Well, I'll tell you what mine is. I sent out texts yesterday. I've been calling and doing this kind of thing and looking for different ways to help. And I had 2 WPO meetings that were virtual yesterday, one with 18 people on it and one with, I think, 10. And I got to tell you, it was mentally taxing because I was taking notes and running things and there were all these different parts and that's not my strongest skill set. The running of the meeting was really fabulous. But the thing I will tell you is, my first chapter said that's the best meeting we've had in forever because there were so many useful takeaways and it was so efficient. Some of the things I can tell you I'm learning that I want to pass on to you and anyone who watches the video is you got to take a 5 to 10 minute break every single hour when you're on the internet, when you're in front of a screen like this, to break what happens to your eyes, your brain, etc. Or you get in this downward spiral. It is a mental health absolute necessity. Every single hour, just set an alarm on your phone, get up, walk around, go to the bathroom, get some, beverages, snacks, etc. Because if you're not in a routine of that, for those of us who are adjusting, not for those who are like Christy, who are used to this, to me, I found I was sitting way too much and my energy's going down. And that's not like me at all. The other thing I did was I connected with every single current client yesterday, whether by phone, text, email, or whatnot, and I connected with them. Everybody responded, and I just want them to know I'm here. I'm happy to help. I want to know how they're doing. One of them has the symptoms, checking in on him and his family, and it's been a wealth of great things, including one of my new clients who is onboarding supposedly next month, asked if they could move it up. So I say that because most of us are not thinking this is a time for new business and growing business, but there's just as much of that happening. So we've got to be looking for where businesses and people are finding these gems, these opportunities, and they're needing help and they're, catalyzing momentum. So thanks for all the good news to start this, because I'm finding when you start meetings, whatever they might be like this, that way, you're starting it in a whole different context. So that being said, Now I want to ask everyone, what do you want to solve today? What do we want to get done? My objective with doing this is, and I've got some questions and I used these. I'm going to see if I can get this shared. Hang on one second. I ask these of my members and of the people I'm talking about, but 3 years from now, looking back, what do we need to do so that we can say this was one of the best things that happened to us? And I got this from a chapter chair, Deborah Flans up in New York, and altered it slightly because I think it's such a critically good question. But a number of other things that we've been seeing from our clients and from the people around, while I'm searching my thing, whoops, for the screen share, and it's covering it, are on this PowerPoint slide that I'm not getting to you because it won't let me move it off of my controls. This is very strange, Jess. All right, let's hit share. There, I won. No, I didn't. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the questions that we threw out. And Christy, and for my platinum ladies that are on, these are the ones that I'm hearing people ask about, comment about, talk about. So if any of these are relevant to you, let's dive in and start talking about it. But the most important one to me is, what do you most need help with? What are the things that are pressing on your mind that you'd love to pick the brains of the people on the webinar on this particular gathering? Because there's some smart women here. So let's see if we can't help each other. So who's got one?
Sue, what's the question?
Any of the questions on the screen? If any of them resonate for you, jump right in. If you have a different one, please feel free. We want to solve some things. What's plaguing you? What do you want to ask people about?
If it's okay, I think I'll go first, just because I have
Please
to jump
do.
off here in a few minutes.
Please do.
One of the things that I think needs to happen for me and personally, for me to be able to say 3 years from now, this was one of the best things that ever happened, is for myself and for those that I come in contact with, to remember that people are going to remember how we treated them during this time. So that applies to our community, to our family, to business, certainly, to our vendors, to our clients. So that's a big thing that I've been thinking about lately, is how to make sure that I approach this in a way that I'm thinking about them. And a lot of this means paying it forward, doing for people now in a way that they can't pay us for now. And there's all kinds of, I think, metaphors about this and about just being human. And I think this is such a great time for women and women's style of leadership to act fast. I think that, you know, that we need to seize our moment.
Agree. So more communication and a question. Do you have a question or anything you want people to weigh in on?
How are you paying it forward?
Uh-oh, we lost you. Your mic isn't working now.
Oh, can you hear me?
How are you? Is
I
all
can
we
hear.
got, Miss Christie?
I can hear.
Yeah, I can hear her.
So Sue, can you hear me? if she
There
can't
you
hear me, one of you can just relay it to her.
You're there.
The question is, and I'm going to have to watch the recording probably because I'm going to bounce out. How are you paying it forward? And you can answer it personally, business-wise, community, however you want to. And one thing I'll say before I finish asking the question is that I know that this particular group of people already pays it forward in 1,000 different ways every single day. But I'm just curious to know what you're doing, if anything new as a result of this virus and shutdown and the economic situation we're in.
Awesome. Great question. Who wants to jump in?
I can jump in on it.
Please do, Anne.
I'm a member of a very small African-American Catholic church it's an integrated church, but it has an outreach specifically to the African-American community. So we're in St. Paul, and it's small, and we are not a wealthy parish by any means. And I have been doing the Facebook page and the website for quite a while. And for those of you who are Catholic or familiar with the Catholic faith, there are African Americans who are Catholic too. They're not all Baptists and Methodists. But the thing is, most of the communication for churches is very white dominated. So any pictures you see, guess what? Jesus and Mary and Joseph were Jewish. They were not pale white. But the images that we see are often from European artists. And so we've worked really hard to bring across a Black Catholic image. And we've gotten some really great responses. But this last week, my role as a volunteer has amped up immensely, trying to get all messages out. But even better is getting more people involved so that other people are involved with our communication, whether it's expanding what's available on our Facebook page, our website. We're going to be doing some live casting. So anyways, that's been great to see the involvement of more people and the ability to teach more people what they can do in the communications realm.
Awesome. 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 Someone else, what are you doing to pay it forward right now as people are learning to social distance and we're adjusting to our new normal?
This is Sally.
Hi, Sally.
It's just a small thing right now. I'm in Ohio, so they've closed down all of our restaurants and bars. And what I'm trying to do is, there's a DoorDash. I'm sure that's it. We're ordering from the local restaurants. That's one thing that we're doing. We're trying to, just every night. And in fact, there's a lovely restaurant here, and Friday night we're going to order from them, and they also will add a bottle of wine. I mean, you have to pay for it, of course, but it's a whole beautiful meal with a bottle of wine paired to the meal. So that's just one little thing we're doing.
Love it. Supporting local. Lynn Robertson, that makes me think of you again.
Yeah, so we did that for our Fame family. But the other thing is I have a good friend here in Minneapolis who owns 7 different small independent restaurants who they're in peril that they'll go out of business. So I've been passing around a petition that she asked me to forward. I can forward it to you all as well, for the restaurants that are offering takeout or curbside for the state of Minnesota to allow them to have takeaway alcohol as well. So
I've already signed it. I know who your friend is.
Yeah, so much of their sales are cocktails. So they're trying to retain as much of that revenue as they can. So I know you know.
It's already a low margin business, and then you take away the alcohol and they can't make anything, some of them.
Yeah.
So fabulous. Signed it, got that going this morning. So good job, good job. Anybody else?
Great.
I'll say, a couple of things that we've done is, so being on lockdown and having 2 kids, little ones, 10 and 6 at home. The other day, to get the kids outside, we brought bags with us, and we have a lot of streams and lakes by us. So we did cleanup. We did spring cleanup. So we took the kids and went and cleaned the streams and stuff by our house. So picked up trash, and it was a good activity for the kids. It's also, making sure that they're aware and cleaning, their environment that they live in. And they had fun. They got wet and dirty. And so it was a nice way for them to just kind of relax. The other thing I would say from a business perspective, so I'm in transportation. but I'm in a unique, I don't transport cars or like goods and freight. I pick up and deliver cars by professional drivers. Most of my driver base is elderly. So it is impacting us. A lot of the companies that we work for, they don't want any interaction as well because their employees are at home as well. So with the social distancing. So what we've been encouraging our staff to do is, while it's kind of quiet here from a transportation perspective, is to think about things that we can do business-wise that will make us better. So all of those special projects, so that way then I'm still paying all the employees. So I've got 80 people to pay. So I still want them to be able to afford and live. So we're thinking of other projects they can do. Like what are some things, enhancements that we wanted to do to our system, but we never can stop to think about it. So doing some of those brainstorming sessions. So that way then they're still active, they're still being engaged while the order volume is low. It allows us to work on other things. So that way when things do turn around, they'll be ready to go.
Awesome. And keeping people employed. So cool. Thank you for doing that. Seemed like this year was starting off so fabulous for most of we business owners. It was a strong start to 2020. And this curveball has just changed everybody's focus, I believe. So, Anne-Marie, anything you want to jump in on how you're paying it forward while you're on your Peloton?
Yeah, actually, I'm off my Peloton now and going to make breakfast for the kiddos. So in terms of paying it forward, I've of course very family focused, and so I've been working on procuring masks for my dad's clinic. So that keeps hopefully him safe, but all of his nurses safe as well. For his entire clinic with a staff of 9, he only had 3 masks. So he couldn't get any more. So that was one way that I've been paying it forward. I also found a stash of masks that he can give out to his patients that come in coughing. So, and in terms of keeping people employed, Brambleberry instituted very early, weeks ago at this point, staggered small shifts. So we decided to take decreased sales, decreased turnaround in order to do smaller shifts of people. Ideally, we like to have 45 people on a shift at one time for maximum efficiency, but to practice micro social distancing at work, we switched to 17 people per shift and put half an hour in between each shift and mandated 15 minutes of disinfecting time 3 times per shift. So we are
fabulous.
Not only less efficient because of the less people, but we are less efficient because we're spending, 1/12 of each shift cleaning.
Right.
And we also split the entire company into what we call pods, basically. So 4 completely walled off groups of employees that don't interact with each other anymore. So that way, if one group goes down, the other one won't. Because we sell soap and soap making supplies and hygiene products. So we actually can't really go down. Our business, interestingly enough, and this happened in the last 2 recessions too, because this will be my 3rd major recession now.
Mm-hmm.
Our business doesn't go down during recessions. It goes up because people are staying at home.
Sure.
So they make soaps and crafts. And then you add the recession. Then you add the recession plus this renewed increased focus on hand washing. Well, you know what hand washing does? It dries out your skin. Then you got to make lotion. So business-wise, we actually are having more orders come in than we projected budget-wise. But of course, we are falling further and further behind turnaround time because the health and safety of our employees comes first. And finally, just to close, I too have been doing the takeout from restaurants. I have a sort of pathological rule not to order restaurant food. I always cook my own at home. I always bring my lunch because years ago I did the financial analysis and went, oh no. And then I did the analysis on my waistline and went, oh yes, I will be cooking from home and bringing it every day. But instead of doing that every single day, I've been trying to do restaurant, in our city, it's all online ordering. You go and you pick it up at the curb and you go. So I've been trying to do the same thing to hopefully help the restaurant industry in our area too, because restaurants, bars, all closed here too.
Right. Well, thank you. That was a whole list and litany of things. They were great. Is there anyone we didn't hear from who wants to jump in? I see Eric Jackson 1. We haven't heard from you. Would you like to jump in?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, I mean, our focus has been on obviously maintaining business, because without business, a lot of other things don't happen.
Right.
And maintaining employee safety and well-being. So I don't know if it's so much paying it forward as it is paying attention.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think for a small, relatively new company, I think we're doing very good work, and we've got the whole executive team doing daily debriefs at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're in touch with our employees and our customers and our farmer partners pretty much on a daily basis. So it's really just ramping up good behavior. And I'm just proud our team was able to respond as quickly as we were able to, and that we've got the leadership that we do to carry through in these difficult times.
Including you. I'm glad we got to see you guys last week before it got really chaotic, Eric.
Yeah, that was one of the last meetings that we're going to have for a while, huh?
Yeah, well, we can do it virtually.
Yeah.
So the good news is
face
we
to
can
face.
still make it work, but
Yeah.
it looks different, right? But we'll see. Maybe this will tame by then.
One of the interesting things that we've learned, we kind of already knew it, but a lot of our folks work in rural environments, and you'd think that, you know, the rural community is sheltered or shielded because of their remoteness. But there's a belief and a behavior system in rural communities that sometimes gets in the way of what the natural boundaries should be. So, for example, last Friday in one of our communities, they scheduled intentionally a fish fry, right, with 300 people. And basically it was kind of a one finger salute to the COVID situation. And, you know, what are you going to do about that, right? So we're trying to coach and educate and be understanding relative to some of these areas' political views where we do operate, but
Right.
but politics is still alive and well in this situation, and we just have to be patient, I guess. But you know, that increases our risk vector at our facilities when these folks go to these gatherings, and then you know we probably had 10 people there.
Wow.
So, and that
And
was
what are you
after.
doing with them? Did you sequester them? Did you quarantine them? How did you respond?
So these particular people are in a physical plant that they do not come in close contact with each other during the day. It's mostly an outside environment, even though some of it is roofed off. It's warehouse type work. It's course manufacturing type work, and we coached them, and you know we had a conversation with the entire team. We're hoping that peer pressure you know works, but we did not. We have no replacements for them, so we cannot stick them in. We cannot enforce a quarantine when they are at least currently asymptomatic. And right now it's a big coaching exercise is what it is.
Well, and these are real and live challenges because again, once they do or should they display the symptoms, you're still facing the reality that you don't have a replacement. So are you doing anything with cross training? I've got a ton of clients doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about who on the executive team is prepared to jump in if necessary. But no, I mean, our customers are to a greater or lesser extent sort of experiencing the same thing that we experience. Our customers are in not dissimilar businesses than we're in. So, you know, we're having conversations with everybody, and everybody agrees that at some point in time, some part of our supply chain is not going to work very well. And so customers are ramping up orders. You know, our demand is through the roof right now because we're in basic foodstuffs.
Yeah,
right?
everyone's home.
So customers are pulling faster. They're trying to get products earlier than we anticipated, and as long as we can supply them, that's good. And you know, they said that part of it's due to their current demand, and part of it's due to their expectation that at some point, some part of the chain is going to break. So I think everybody's doing what they can, but it is difficult when you're working with without a deep bench and multiple people that can cover each function, particularly in these remote areas where there aren't necessarily replacements to be had anyway, right?
Right.
So
Right.
no, we don't have a good solution. We're doing the best we can, and we're hoping that our folks, continue to take it seriously, or more seriously than they have been.
And for the other business owners on the session here in our gathering, I have hearing Eric, listening to the rest of you, what are you doing? Anne-Marie talked about reducing shifts, but I have manufacturing clients right now, especially who are in sanitation, those kinds of anything around cleaning, and they're working 6 days a week. They can't get supplies. They are multitasking and finding ways for people to clock in and clock out because they can't have lines of people waiting to get to the same clock, because that poses a situation with distancing. How are you addressing, covering the shifts for those businesses that are seeing an increase like Anne-Marie, or in remote areas like Eric? How are you flexing with your workforce for the people who have to go in or it can't be done remotely? Any other ideas from anyone on the call?
So most of our systems are cloud-based.
This is Lori.
Yep, sorry. So most of our systems are cloud-based. So on Friday, we basically prepared the entire staff not to be here on Monday. Those that did not have computers, we made arrangements for them to be able to take computers home. And so we have teams, so most of them are there. I'm actually in the office today. I have a small group. I have 3 of them here with me today. We do a lot of licensing and titling, so we deal with a lot of state organizations and DMVs, and I will say most of them are quickly shutting down. So I will say we're probably at about half of states' DMVs closing down. So it's one of those things, is just getting some of the paperwork and follow up on the stuff that we have. But I would imagine pretty soon here, they will then also be working remotely as well. And it will just be follow up and creative thinking versus actually handling the paperwork. We're still getting paperwork from the states. So what we're trying to do is keep that afloat, so that way then our customers can have that necessary documentation and stuff that they need.
It's a moment by moment change, isn't it?
It is. It's quite interesting. But I will say, I mean, I'm trying to be very good as far as communication to the employees. So every other day I'm sending out something. My management team is continuing to have meetings. From a driving perspective, we're still having problems. Some of our drivers that actually can have or have access to wipes and hand sanitizer are doing some moves, but we have told all customers that we are not doing face-to-face like pickups. So what we call is like key flapping. So you leave the key somewhere, our driver can go and pick up the vehicle. We're not doing any signing of the condition reports, which are all electronic on phones. So we're not doing any of that. Basically we want to do everything we can to ensure our drivers, the pickup, the delivery, everyone is safe and keeping their distance. If we have a driver who doesn't have access to hand sanitizer and wipes, if we get it, we're trying to for them, but it's been very difficult to get any of that kind of stuff. So those, they're just not doing the moves right now.
Right. What adjustments are you seeing, hearing, or making as the owners? And please, everyone jump in on this ever evolving wheel we're on, because it seems literally some days it's hours and other days we have more hours, but it doesn't seem like it's letting up. It seems like whether it's the tax changes, the legislation changes, the HR and legal sort of ramifications, unemployment, you can look at, it's coming from all directions, including, as Anne Marie was alluding to, you know, homeschooling your children while they're learning to learn online, while the parents are learning how to work in a home environment, sometimes with both parents and their children, and the children learning how to learn, which is just a cluster waiting to happen because we aren't equipped for all of these things all at the same time. And I'm appreciating so much, despite the tears and the stress and the frustration that I'm hearing in the groups I travel in, how resourceful and creative people are being, and the wealth of ideas. And that's what we're trying to share on here. So if you have any input on some of the creative things like Lori was alluding to, whether homeschooling kids or, you know, working with your workers, or, you know, addressing the multiple things and keeping your own resilience, which is where I want to bring this to now, is for us as leaders, what are you doing to take care of you? Because right now, that's as important as all this other change. Anybody?
This is Sally. I'll go first.
Thank you.
I meditate, and I've been meditating for a lot of years. So I've been doing that twice a day. I'm resting, and I'm not going into the office because I did have a little challenge. I think I'm fine, but I'm not going to put anybody at risk. So I'm staying home.
Thank you.
You can see in the background, see that piano right there?
Mm-hmm.
Been playing a lot of that. And I'm just taking walks. I've got a Peloton bike at home, so I've been riding that a lot. I think Anne Marie has one too, so we should friend each other.
Yeah.
So I'm just, you know, really trying to stay as positive as possible through just taking good care of myself.
Good for you. My husband and I, as we were getting ready this morning, Sally, were saying, I said, I think the bags under my eyes are actually, they have a shot at going away. Maybe for the first time in 20 years. So there's a blessing as long as sleep stays, you know, out of the stressful range. So I appreciate everything you just said. Who else? What are you doing to take care of yourself, take care of your people, stay motivated and inspired?
This is Anne Marie. So ironically, me taking care of myself, I get such peace of mind knowing my loved ones are taken care of. So taking care of them, like cooking my mom healthy meals, making sure that Ted is getting healthy meals, making sure that Ted's mom, who's been in quarantine now for, Ted put her in isolation in 14 days ago, probably. Making sure that they're clear. Yeah. Well, she wasn't even sick. He just said, you're staying inside. We're going to deliver groceries to you. And everybody at the time was like, oh, that's overkill. That's such overkill. Sadly it wasn't. Right. This is not a time when you want to be happy that you like get to say, I told you so. But so taking care of my loved ones actually is a lot for me. That gives me such peace of mind. And I know I quote, should be meditating, but I have yet to do it. I thought about it, but I am working out. So that I feel good about.
Hey, Anne-Marie, I've got a way for you to try it today.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Are you in front of a screen a bunch?
Well, that's a good question. Sometimes.
Okay. So every time you get on a keyboard for more than a 15-minute stretch of time, set an alarm. And for 1 minute, take your fingers off the keyboard, close your eyes, focus right here underneath your nose, and just on your breathing, try and just breathe. 1 minute, back to work. Once you got 1 minute down with some kind of frequency, try 2.
I think that's doable. Maybe we'll see. 1 minute is always doable. Yeah, baby steps.
If it doesn't, there's a great little book called Meditation in a New York Minute that's for people like you and I. It's a good help.
Good to know. Thank you.
You bet. Who else? What are you doing to take care of yourself, your people, stay motivated, stay healthy, stay resilient, stay inspired?
Yeah, this is Lynn. I'll go. Similar to Sally, I try to meditate as part of my daily practice. What's been kind of an upside of this is that there's more flex in my schedule, so I'm finding ways to do it more often, and I think more thoughtfully than I can, because I'm a lot like you and Anne Marie as well, it's hard to find the time to just calm your mind down. But when I don't, the anxiety manifests physically, and sometimes working out isn't enough. And so, yeah, that's been good. I've found different ways to do that. And I tend to be a better guided meditation person. So there's a ton of them on YouTube that you can just put on your phone. You can pick the time. Some of them are as short as, 3 minutes, and some are 45 minutes. So I tend to go with the shorter ones, frankly, but that way it helps just keep my mind in the zone versus just trying to focus on my breathing. That doesn't work very well for me. So
good for you. Good for you. You got to find your method. So Anne-Marie, listen to Lynn. She's got other ones. Who else? Jessica, we need to hear from you too.
Yeah, I think for me, I noticed a few days ago that I had neglected doing as much journaling as I normally do. And I think I shared on the previous call, I just got a brand new gratitude journal that has a page for the morning and a page for the evening. So I've been just diligent about doing that first thing when I wake up, which gives me then the gratitude going into the day. And then of course, as stress and work happen during the day, then it's really nice to have that at the very end. But it's also been a good time for me to pause and go back to my normal journaling and just even journaling about my feelings. If there have been moments of anxiety, like getting them out, what specifically provoked that, and then also recognizing when I have moments of joy, like I did last night in texting with my brother, to acknowledge that not everything is anxiety filled. And I've also thought a lot about what you said last Friday, I believe, Sue, about the eustress versus the distress. And I think there's still times where I'm experiencing that eustress as we're getting ready to do more of these calls, and there's a lot of work involved. But it's eustress for me because I know we're being of service, and that's exciting and that's fun. It's just there's still a lot of work with it. But for me to prospectively switch in my mind, this isn't overwhelm and this isn't distress. This is eustress, and let's use it for the energy filling purposes that that's intended for.
Good for you. That's awesome. Anne?
Thanks, Sue. This is Anne, and I've added 2 new practices, and I grit my teeth every time I talk about them because they're really challenging for me. The first one is to ask for help. Sue knows me well enough to know what a challenge that is. And part of asking for help then is surrendering to the idea that help is not necessarily going to look the way I think it should. And out of that, I'm getting some great help in various areas and some added creativity because my ideas are not always the best ideas. So it's been a great way to help, to self-help myself, but also to surrender. And the second thing, right along with the idea of surrendering, is to surrender perfectionism. So this morning I was up, I know. This morning
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. This morning I was up doing work at 6 a.m. and last night I was working till about 10:30. And at 9:59, I realized that I was still in my bathrobe and was gonna not go to this call because, I know well enough that, hey, when I'm doing webcasting, my hair is done well, my makeup, the lighting's all good, and I've at least showered. So,
good for you.
This call was important enough that I said, you know what? I'm going to look the way I'm going to look. My background is going to look the way it looks, and I'm still going to do it. So those 2 things, asking for help and giving up perfection.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Eric, we need a male voice in here. How about you? What are you doing to take care of yourself?
I just realized I'm the only guy on this call, huh?
I don't know why today, but lucky you have a harem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everybody's said a lot of what I would say. Exercise, my wife and I get out and take a daily walk. We're being very careful not to interact other than my occasional run to the grocery store. Mm-hmm. So just getting out in fresh air is a key to our happiness. And then, from a business standpoint, even from a personal standpoint, just focusing on what it is, we can control and making sure you're doing everything there. And then, you know, learning to let go of those things you can't control, because you can drive yourself crazy with all these things that are out of your control. No matter how hard you work on it, it's out of your control. And that's not good for your mental health. So that means, you know, I mean, our time at home is definitely different than our time in the office, but it does kind of remind you about what is critical in the business setting, and just learning to let go of the things that are out of your control.
Totally love that. You're prompting. It's like I baited you, but I'm going to move my camera. If you see my whiteboard, that's normally a client whiteboard, and it's got all kinds of detail. But I woke up this morning, as I do often, and my brain is racing with all the thoughts. You know, I don't know how many ideators are on the phone. I have a pretty good idea about which of you they are, which is many and most. But I have an influx of, you know, a bazillion ideas running through my head. And all of a sudden I thought, I don't need that client whiteboard right now. I need all of these different ways to talk about how we make new self-imposed structure, to what you were saying. And at the top, if you could see that, I don't know if you could, and I'm playing with the camera, I'm going to do a video just myself of what came out of my brain, but I'm going to try and keep that there while I read. But at the top, I wrote focus on can do, what you can versus what you can't. And then I wrote work for me and for my family and home. And then my brain was just racing with, you know, again, as I told you, I was talking with my husband, Kevin, this morning saying, wow, I'm getting rest. I mean, true rest and sleep. And that's so important. And I've been challenged with even making time to be able to do that in the past probably 3 years, because I've packed my life pretty full. And so I said to him, here I've gotten this gift of time, because of course in our business, we are on the front end of, hey, we don't need to do that right now. And everything we do is about live events with people. So the gift of time, right? So I looked up and I went, okay, there are lists and lists of things I want to get to, and not all of them are a top priority, but I want to get them out of my head and think about the structure of, all right, if my days don't look the way they've looked, what should they look like? What can they look like? What will they look like? And how do I reinterpret that, instead of right now going, I'm just going to do a bunch of webcasts, which is great. But again, reinterpreting a new normal so that there can be a structure, because that helps people like me who tend to chase too many things. And while I love the relationship focus, I started to look, and I'm going to look over there. And again, I'll outline this in several webinars for those whose brains work like mine do, if it's helpful. But around relationships, who do I need to connect with from a work perspective, from a home perspective, from a neighborhood perspective, from a community perspective? And I think I'm doing a great job, because that's where I defaulted to. And then I went to, okay, what about health for me? So my me column is around relationships, health, and all the things I can do around health, which is a really long chunk on there, which I love. Financially, so that I'm proactive personally and professionally, have gone through everything, best case, worst case scenario. If our revenue is impacted 20% for the year, if it's impacted 50%, favorably, disfavorably, if it's impacted whatnot, and then making plans so that I feel like I have a default position of logic while emotion is high, right? So looking in a work perspective of, what are the projects that need completion? What are the ones we can never get to? Which ones are important? Which ones aren't? Because if this is long-term, I need a list while I'm resourceful and still feel like this could change next week and we'll be back to normal, because I'll lose perspective on that. Daily prioritization. And what should my structure be? I'm looking at Anne-Marie going, oh, jumping on the bike first thing. I don't always allow myself that. I have to get up that much earlier. But what if it could be a reasonable structure around, first thing I do is some form of exercise, 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour or 10 minutes, breaking up my dog's walks into 3 walks rather than 1, which we got from Kurt T. Rowe last week. And I thought that's brilliant. Instead of trying to do 1 full hour, the dog gets 3 bonuses and so do I. So when we think about all the ways of doing this, it's great to be here with you guys, but I want to encourage you and everybody else to get off of this call and think about what's the structure that makes you the best you in whatever this new normal is. And for those who already know how to do this well, kudos to you. Maybe work has shifted. So what's the new normal there? If not work, is it the home part? If so, with that, for those who have kids at home, what's that? But you have to step back at 10,000 feet and say, what are the pieces of the chess game and how do I want to play the game now? Because we have this great opportunity to reshuffle the deck in favor of us and the people we can inspire. And that's the way I'd like us to leave this with what actions will you take to make that happen? And I want to say thanks to everyone for being on the call and sharing all of your practices and wisdom. We're doing another one tomorrow, different time, Monday and Wednesday next week. Reason being, doesn't always happen when you need it, but it might be there when you need it most. So thanks for being here. We appreciate you. And we want to support you in being the best you can be at this time. Go forth and have a wonderful day.
Hang on just a sec.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Sue.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Bye.